Hey everybody, welcome to the first ever episode of The Gutter. I'm your host, Joe Sweeney, and today's inaugural show will feature the first issue of Marvel Comics' Spectacular Spider-Man Brand New Day. This issue features Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, Mr. Negative, and Frank Castle, the Punisher. As they're all jockeying for sole possession of the lexicon. What's the lexicon? It's Kingpin's criminal enterprise directory, and Spidey wants to take it away, so the city remains safe. So let's dive into issue number 1, but first a word from our sponsor. Dang, we ain't got no sponsors yet. If you'd like to become a sponsor of The Gutter, just reach out through our channel, and we'll be glad to highlight your goods or services right here on the show. When high school science student Peter Parker was bitten by a radioactive spider, he soon learned that he had inherited all of that spider's abilities. But after using these amazing gifts to help himself instead of others, he suffered a terrible loss and learned a lifelong lesson that with great power, there must also come great responsibility. And from that moment on, he became the Spectacular Spider-Man. And now we focus on Fisk's Tower, a building that is minutes away from becoming the former headquarters to the Kingpin of crime. Only the essentials, he says, as he pulls back some sort of picture or mirror from the wall to expose a safe. Anything else can be purchased abroad. As he opens the safe, he sees nothing, says, "What?" And he hears a slurping sound coming from behind the desk. In his chair, as he turns around, he hears, "Hey, Willie, I hear you're heading out of town, you know. If you need a book for your flight, you should check this one out. It's a real page-turner." Kingpin yells, "Blasted bug, give me that." Spider-Man replies, "So you have read it. Don't tell me how it ends. And by the way, you owe me a soda." Kingpin then yells, "You fool, you have no idea what that's worth." As Spider-Man replies, "This old thing? The legendary lexicon of crime? The secret ledger of every major illegal enterprise in New York City? Dude, I got a bet with Moon Knight that this is an urban myth." As Kingpin lifts up the table, he yells, "This is your last chance, wall crawler. Hand it over now, or I won't just have you killed. I'll have your entire family." "Wait, I used to know who you were. Why can't I remember? You unmasked yourself. I saw it. We all did. I hired someone to gun you down. The real you, not the spider. The man. You should be dead. What happened?" As he grabs hold of the lexicon, crashes through the glass. "I'll tell you what happened. They missed me. Do you remember what I did next?" Kingpin says, "No. I beat you, Fisk, within an inch of your life. And I left your broken body as a message for anyone who'd go near my family again." Kingpin says, "I remember that, but I can't see your face. How are you doing that?" "Who knows? Maybe I knocked it out of you, along with 8th grade algebra and any sense of decency," as Spider-Man pummels Kingpin. "Left, right, left." Kingpin replies, "Tell me, damn it." Spider-Man then says, "This is really getting under your skin, isn't it? Good." As Kingpin writhes in pain, Spider-Man, holding the lexicon, says, "I know about the deal you made with Daredevil. You're leaving the country, starting a new life, and not looking back. Great. We'll all be glad to see you go. But here's where we stand. If you tell any of the crime families that I have the lexicon, I'll be sure to tell them how you lost it." Spider-Man adds, "From now on, I know all your secrets, Fisk, and you know none of mine." Fisk replies, "Very well, but at least leave me with this. How in the hell did you pull this off?" Spider-Man replies, "That's easy, Willie. Magic. You see, from here on, anything's possible because..." From that point on, he was the Spectacular Spider-Man, and this was his brand new day. Now, the explanation of the Civil War conflict. How did we get here? It began with a superhero civil war, where heroes fought each other over whether they should be registered with the government or be allowed to keep their identities a secret. The unmasking and aftermath. In a pivotal moment, Spider-Man went on live TV and unmasked himself, revealing to the whole world that he was Peter Parker. And when the war ended, Peter and his family found themselves targeted on the run. And it was one of them, Aunt May, who almost paid the ultimate price Parker knew that somehow his identity had to be restored. So, Spider-Man had his friend, Dr. Strange, the master of mystical arts, perform a spell to make everyone forget he was Peter Parker, even Strange himself. From that point on, Spectacular Spider-Man was born, and it was his brand new day. Just 1 week later, just off the East River. Doug, why can't somebody hit this guy already? Spider-Man says internally, I've got the proportional speed of a spider. It's in my bio, along with the fact that I'm a Libra. And the big question is, the Doug turns and says, why on earth can't I hit you? And the eel says, look at that. Every punch and kick just glides right off my power. Because I'm the eel, you moron. A villain for hire. And that's my power. The Doug says, hey, the maggot doesn't pay you to grab. You're here to protect our operation, so fry him already. And the eel says, shut up, I know what I'm doing. And Spider-Man replies, ooh, slippery and zappy. I think I'll call you Electro. And the Thug turns and says, no, stop shooting the money. Spider-Man then says, whoa, some of these are 50s. You guys are rolling in it. The Thug then says, yeah, you stop shooting the money. Spider-Man then says, who'd have thought after all these years the Maggie's secret counting house was in the back of their fish packing plant? And the Thug says, what are you doing? The eel says, a surprise experiment. Spider-Man then says, who the surprise? Let's see what happens when I hit you with something equally slippery. Eel says, ugh. And the Thug then says, easy wall crawler, we give. Guys, put down your guns. Spider-Man says, what? You guys are giving up over a fish? And the Thug then says, that's a $2.5 million bluefin tuna, Webs. It's worth more than the money. Spider-Man then says, it'd be so easy just to take a handful of cash to order the fish. $2.5 million fish? Why do I have to be responsible all the time? Right, great power, yada yada yada, I know. Spider-Man then says, this is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man calling Captain Your Wannabe. Come in, Captain. Yuri then says, this is Yuri, how can I help you, neighbor? Spider-Man says, quick tip, if you look inside the fish market, you should find the Maggie crime family's money counting operation with all their employees and ledgers gained webbed up in a nice little package. Yuri says, sorry, you cut out for a sec. You said they were wrapped up? Is that correct? Spider-Man says, webbed up. What was I thinking? Yuri can't be found working with a masked vigilante like me. Yuri says, yeah, what you said. Signing off. Spider-Man then says, the important thing is Yuri's men can safely take things from here. And it's kind of nice to have a friend on the force again, even a secret one. We move to Yuri on the phone. Don't know if you can still hear me, pal, but thanks. Punisher then says, of course, the cop and the spider are working together. This is their 5th major takedown in less than a week. Outside the fish market, the Punisher adds, all perfectly executed with 0 casualties. Amateurs. How does that help anyone? Months from now, all that scum will be back on the street again. Punisher in his vehicle. I would have provided a more permanent solution. Punisher War Journal tonight, I finally got it. The spider and the cops' private frequency. I've been chasing that location for 9 days if I'd struck first. Back at the DB building and editorial office, signage on the building says the DB. Robertson off screen says, now, Mr. Bennett, I know you've been shying away from running pictures of Spider-Man. That was Jameson's way of doing things, and we're not the Daily Bugle anymore. We're the DB. Mr. Bennett then says, I know, sir, but this isn't one Spidey story. It's a series. Night after night, he's been taking out key infrastructure of multiple criminal empires. Robertson, back in the editorial meeting, says, this is major news. No one's cleaned up this city like this in years. Dex then says, he's got a point, Dex. So if you want to waste space on my page showing Spider-Man being competent, that doesn't sell papers, Robbie. Now give me a pic of that gal saying she's the Webhead's baby mama. Then you have something, but not today. Bye, Mr. Barker. Back in the hallway, Bennett says, he's never going to get my name right, will he? Robertson then says, no, he won't, Pete. Wait up, there's something I want to tell you. It's a little embarrassing. Robertson, back in the office, says, for a while I thought you were Spider-Man. I know, it sounds crazy, yet I just couldn't shake it. Then one day you caught a cold. It was like, Bennett says, magic? Well, I wouldn't put it like that, but it made me rethink everything I do know about you. As Robertson and Parker continue their conversation, Robertson adds, I saw this amazing kid with all this potential, but who kept skipping all his classes, and I was guessing he had some mysterious second life. But the answer was the obvious one. You were exactly who you appeared to be, the kind of kid who sacrificed his career remaking Spider-Man, to pay his rent, to look after his aunt, to be the most responsible young man in the world. What I'm trying to say, Pete, is that if things get tough more than anyone, I know you'll figure it all out. Parker then replies, thanks, Robbie, and thanks. There's nothing to worry about. Arriving at Feast, Parker says to his Aunt May, "You want me to work at your homeless shelter? I thought you said this be a paying gig." Signage on the building, Feast Project. Food Emergency Aid Shelter and Training. Aunt May says, "Oh no, dear. I said it would be rewarding. And there's nothing more rewarding, Peter, than helping others." Parker then says inside his own head, "Aunt May always has some scheme, and she always knows what I need." At the front desk, Aunt May says, "This is my nephew, Peter." Tabitha says, "Hi." Aunt May replies, "This is Tabitha, our administrator, and Jolene works the front desk." Tabitha says, "Welcome aboard." Jolene replies, "Why, hello there." Aunt May then says, "You're Martin Lee, the philanthropist, who makes all of this work. We've already met. Good to see you again, Peter. May thinks the world of you." Lee then says, "She said you're also good with computers." Parker then replies, "Yeah, I dabble in all sciences." Lee then replies, "Excellent. Here at the Feast Center, we're not just about providing meals and a safe place to sleep. We want to give people the skills they need to find work and strike out on their own. To that end, I'd like you to teach our residents a bare-bones computer class, Peter." Peter then replies, "Cool. Looks like I got my first student." Lee then says, "Almost. That's Tabitha's son. He likes to sneak in here and play video games when no one's looking." Lee then says, "Bailey Briggs, meet Peter Parker. He's going to start teaching computer classes here." Bailey replies, "Wow, teaching here? Guess you couldn't find anything else, huh?" Parker then says to himself, "What an annoyingly accurate kid. I really dislike you." He says to himself too, "And yet somehow I'll live." Lee then says to Parker, "Can you start tomorrow?" Parker says, "Well, like the kid said, where else can I go?" Lee then replies, Well, I think we're lucky to have you, Mr. Parker. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some business to attend to." Parker then says, "Me too." As the car pulls up in front of Feast, you hear, "Excuse me, but you're not my regular driver." "No, sir, I'm not. But I'm not here for Martin Lee. I'll wait till you change into something more appropriate." "There you are." "Where to, boss?" "My most recent acquisition up in the Bronx." "Yes, sir, Mr. Negative." Negative says, "Wait here." Negative walks in on his employees and says, "Don't look up, keep working. If anything, my presence here means you had better pick up the pace. Your output may have been good enough for your former Magia employers, and if they're the ones you wish to please, you can always join them in the East River." Mr. Negative says, "Now I wish to see the sad excuse of a manager who is running this operation." And to Spider-Man on top of the roof, speaking into his radio, "Yuri, come in. I need you to keep your men back. This one might take a while. And that's if we make a move tonight at all." Yuri in her car says, "What do you mean if? You said this could be the largest drug bust of the decade. I mean, if we all live to talk about it, Mr. Negative is in there. And whoa, and his inner demons." "Who's Mr. Negative?" "Spider-Man, an army of them, Yuri. This might be out of our league." Punisher, "So what's the plan, neighbor?" Spider-Man says, "I'm going in. Then I'll play it nice, slow, and super stealthy." "Okay, kiddo, this is your show." Punisher close up, "You call the shots." Spider-Man says to himself, "Like the lady said, this is my show. Cue the music."
99 guys who can kill me in here! 99 guys I should fear! Web 3 in the mouth before they can shout! 96 guys who can kill me in here! Hey, I might actually do this, let's keep it going! Second verse, same as the first. 96 guys!
Spider-Sense lines around Peter's head. Spider-Sense, why? The battle van crashes in. Spider-Man, Mr. Negative react. Spider-Man says, "So much for the stealth, Mr. Negative. What's in the 18 levels of hell?" Inner demon thug, "But boss, he came out of nowhere. It's..." Mr. Negative, "I have eyes. I can see that." Frank Castle, the Punisher. The one-man war on crime. Spider-Man says, "Damn it, Castle. I had this. Punisher then says, "Save me your speeches, Spider. These men are garbage. All you have is a slap on the wrist. I have a solution." Spider-Man then says, "You haven't fought the inner demons before, have you, Frank?" Frank then says, "That's the difference between us, Bug. I never have to fight the same guys twice." Spider-Man says, "Well, I guess there's a first time for everything, right? Mr. Negative's goons, they're like zombies, Frank. They don't die." Frank then says, "What in God's name?" And says, "Why won't these mother-loving freaks stay down?" Spider-Man then said, "It's annoying, right? They just keep popping up like daisies. Shut up and do something." "What, like discreetly web them up one at a time?" Frank then says, "Man, I hate you." And Spider-Man says, "Oh, like it's my fault?" Mr. Negative then says, "Mr. Castle, so we finally meet. There are many matters I wish to discuss with you." "Yeah, well, all I gotta say to you is drop dead." Negative then says, "Not a promising start, but not to fear, I'm sure we'll make a connection." Spider-Man then says, "Hey Frank, what do you say, truce? I think if I'm gonna get out of this one, I'm gonna need you on my side?" Jesus, what the heck is going to... Don't forget to subscribe and like us so we can build our channel and do this all the time. From everybody here at The Gutter, we'll see you next time.